Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Daily Volatility Box Report for October 29th, 2019. We are TOSindicators.com, home of the Volatility Box. For today's trading, we didn't have any trades across the board. We came close to an entry on the NASDAQ, but didn't quite hit it, and we did have an entry on the crude futures, but this was an end-of-hour entry, so it didn't trigger true for us. But we'll talk about each of these, and then we'll also give you another sneak peek at the stock volatility box entries for today. And then for all of the existing current members, all of you who've sent us a note about wanting access, we plan to have that to you by the end of this week, along with some instructional videos that should help you get started to use the tool the same way that we're using it. Tomorrow on the calendar, we have quite a few events that call for us to be a bit more conservative. So starting at 5:15 Pacific, so 8:15 Eastern, we have events across the board using the Forex Factory Red folder measure. And so we can see we have non-farm, we have advanced GDP, then we also have crude oil inventories. And so for this, we'll be looking at the queue where we use a test starting 4 a.m. onwards on crude. And we use that to determine which volatility box we should be using to play the actual crude report. And then we also have an FOMC event in the afternoon or 11 a.m. Pacific. We've had some luck playing the initial post-reaction using the aggressive volatility box, but very quickly have had to change to the conservative volatility box after. And so that's just something you may want to keep in mind. If you don't really feel like switching around, then it may be in your best interest to just stick with the conservative volatility box and play the complete edge moves and play with the probabilities in your favor. Okay, so we'll start with our crude chart. And so using our aggressive volatility box here, we had our entry take place towards the end of the hour. And so for us, our orders are canceled at 55. So this did not trigger true for us. However, it did give us information. And so we were able to see that crude did end up having the follow through. And so if we had, in fact, another aggressive volatility box entry, maybe to say go long here, then you could have taken that entry with a bit more confidence, knowing that the move had panned out earlier in the day using the aggressive volatility box. Okay, next, let's take a look at some of the stock volatility box plays from today to demonstrate how we're using this tool. So here's a scan that we've built, and here's some of the results of the scan. And so we'll just go through some of the ones where we actually had an entry trigger. And so one of them was in Akamai Technologies, which we talked about even in yesterday's video. Since we had earnings, we were using the conservative volatility box, which is shown right here. And our entry came right as price fell into the volatility box clouds. Our stop was outside of the volatility box, and we were looking for a reversal in the move where we hit at least this dashed line first, which is your first target, which is what you risk. And as soon as that happens, you can then manage this trade however you'd like. Either move your stop to break even, trail up your stop, take off your entire lot at T1. It's whatever fits your risk appetite and trading plan. But for us, that was one trade in Akamai Technologies. Another was in Brown & Brown. And so here is another example where price slammed into our volatility box clouds. Our stop was outside of the clouds, and we hit that first target. But then if you moved your stop to break even, you were taken off as price slammed right back up into the clouds, taking you off at what would have been your entry and then proceeding to break the clouds into the rest of the day, which could be construed as a sign, a bullish sign, in which prices exceeded the move that it could make, even using the conservative volatility box off of earnings, which could suggest that a bullish continuation tomorrow may take place, especially if Brown looks bullish on any other time frame charts. Another one that we can take a look at is in MMC. And here's a very similar example where price slammed right into our volatility box clouds. The actual entry came right here, and we were waiting for our target to get hit. We came close but didn't quite hit it. Price then reversed before then ultimately reversing, giving us our target, and then you may have moved your stop to break even to trail down the rest of the plays. Here's another example where we came close to an entry in INCY, but we didn't quite get there. And we like these entries to take place before 10 a.m. So that you have enough time for follow through. And that's if you're looking to fade the edges. We're also looking at ways that you can start to use this tool to help you find trending candidates, especially in your favorite stocks, on days that it might be likely to break out using actual volatility statistics and models instead of other indicators that you might be using. All right, so once again, tomorrow our calendar is packed with events, so just be cautious. If you'd like to play it safe, then you may be wanting to use the conservative volatility box all day long. For that crude report, just make sure you start looking 4 a.m. Pacific onwards to help you determine which volatility box you might want to use to help you play the report. And then same thing with the FOMC. We'd like to see how the indices and the bonds look overnight and to see if they're respecting the conservative or the aggressive volatility boxes and use that as information to help us fuel our trade decisions for tomorrow. All right, take care everyone, and we'll see you in tomorrow's nightly update.